and I'm the founding partners of Revaia. Happy to be virtually present today, and I think the beauty of technology is that it enables you to still have like meaningful interactions while not being physically present. Shall I share my screen?
Oh,
is that okay?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes, but you're not in presentation mode. And
I good?
Sorry?
Is it okay?
Yes, now it is.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
One of the founding partners of Revaia. So Revaia, we're a growth stage fund investing from Series B down to pre-IPO rounds, check size of 10 to 30 million euros per company. We invest across Europe in sustainable tech companies. What does it mean and why do we do that? So first, we think there's a big need for growth capital across Europe, and more than that, there's a need for crossover capital, meaning that we have to be able to help companies graduate towards an IPO and have a life of their own there. Second, we believe that addressing environmental and societal issues doesn't have to be carried out only by a number of very aware and very virtuous companies. All of us have to change, and every single company has to engage in a journey where the planet's going to get better through what they do. So basically, we're about addressing like the 95% of companies that do have either a positive business model or sort of neutral business model, provided that they have an intention around creating positive externalities. That comes with a number of exclusions as well, where we think a number of categories have a negative impact, and also where we don't feel very strongly about the mission. I mentioned a few here around some part of the crypto space, and also ad tech, for example. What it means also to be a responsible investor is to put that into action through the best governance that you can afford and that you can offer to your portfolio companies. So we build a governance that is in the best interests of our portfolio companies, picking with the management the best and most relevant people to support them. Here are a number of examples of people we have hired to represent ourselves on the board of our portfolio companies. And this is all part of a unique investment style, if I may say, that's about being very high conviction and very committed alongside our portfolio companies, and that's notably about building the best round and capital structure for our portfolio companies, plus acting as a reference alongside them on crossover aspects, so how they could potentially get to an IPO at some point, and also how they embed all the societal and environmental issues at work. And we do embed, for example, some of them in the shareholders agreement and also in the bylaws. Now, moving to how we carry out this responsible investment strategy and how that's interesting for portfolio companies and probably for some people in the room today. So we have set up a proprietary framework that we call our Charter for Responsible Investing in Tech, that is built around 3 pillars. One is tech for good, so proactively identifying companies that are along a number of themes that we believe create value as a whole. For example, in our selection of topic, purpose-driven fintechs or responsible consumption. The second pillar is about good in tech, so how these companies can implement best practices, and act on the society and the environment beyond their business model. And the third pillar is about taking action. It's about how we push these companies to start a sustainability journey, and how this should be very dynamic. It's accompanying this big environmental change and societal change is about constantly evolving. How do we carry out these actions, and how do we engage the companies we work with on a sustainability journey? So first things first, it all starts by measuring. Sounds like easy, but it has to start somewhere, and somewhere in the world of an investor is about the due diligence. Once you have decided to invest in a company, so it's a holistic assessment across several pillars. It's not so much a due diligence, but rather than that, it's a dialogue. I would not compare it to any other form of due diligence we do. It's about working hand in hand with our target companies, and it's about it's not so much about checking what they do, who they are, but it's about the starting point. Do we all agree on the starting point? This measuring has to be exhaustive. I think one of the beauties of a sustainable approach and strategy, it's about being very holistic. And we help companies we work with have in mind every topic that you could think of on the environmental side, on the supplier side, on the tech part, so that they have everything in mind, and then we drill down on the most important ones. This exercise is also about sharing our findings, and also giving ideas about a number of practices that they could put in place, that come either from our community of portfolio companies, or typically, because we have this connection with the public markets, from some of the most advanced publicly listed companies. And interestingly, companies like Salesforce or Adyen, for example, have really great advanced sustainability strategies. As an example, some of our portfolio companies have implemented really interesting and maybe contrarian social practices. For example, Welcome to the Jungle in our portfolio, an HR recruiting and onboarding software, has developed a practice around 4 days of work per week. So it's very, very contrarian in the tech market in general, and it has proven to have multiple benefits for the employees around how good they feel at work, how loyal they feel towards the company, and also the fact that this has reduced tremendously the turnover on the tech teams, notably. Now moving on to basically a set of benchmarks and framework that any company can use in starting this sustainability journey. First things first, it's about, what are the different stakeholders? Again, as I said before, the beauty of sustainability approaches is around having a very holistic framework to look at all of our externalities. So this is just an example of what a stakeholder mapping touches on. Then the usual suspects around sustainability framework, so sustainable development goals that everyone obviously, I guess, is aware of, and another framework that is more probably for the investor community, that is SASB, which is more on the risk mitigating sides, meaning that companies, depending on what are their activities, would have different grades and marks depending on what they do, and that's a way to identify where are the areas of risk. Another tool that is also well known is about the labeling. So B Corp, there are pros and cons, obviously. We're going through that ourselves as an investment company. We do think it has, the interest is about having a holistic assessment. 2, it's about being part of a community that shares best practices. And 3, it's about having a framework that is a global standards. Then as a company, the sustainability roadmap starts, as I said, around the diagnosis. We can't stress enough the importance of having all of the employees onboarded. Hence, this strategy has to come from the top, and it has to be a strategy as you know, internationalization or growth or M&A is part of the strategy. So we think it has to be a very high level top priority, and also ideally part of the North Stars. The ultimate goal of these strategies, we think, are around enabling any employee to make decisions on their own about whether they should take this client, whether they should, you know, buy this flight ticket. It's multiple decisions that you can frame through the sustainability strategy. And obviously that has to go through all the levels of governance of a company, all the way up to the board. Usually what we're seeing in the most advanced plans that we support, so some companies do define business plans that are aligned with a 1.5 degree of increase of temperature. So they do, with all the measurements that they've done, they manage to assess the amount of carbon they would have to comply with. So that's a great framework to give to the employees so that they can make decisions on a daily basis. Here is an example of a roadmap from PayPal, actually, where you can see that the part of the top ranking priorities in terms of sustainability are around diversity and inclusion, cybersecurity. Another one is around climate change mitigation. So basically all companies are expected to have actions around mitigation. And fourth, one of the top 4 priorities around the product itself, which has to address some societal topic. So it's always interesting to look at larger companies that we do use on a daily basis and see what they have in mind. Drilling down on one of our portfolio companies, GoHenry, which is a fintech company, part of our purpose-driven fintech investment strategy. We led a round of $40 million alongside a US investor, Edison, and GoHenry is a neobank with an app and debit card for parents and kids. With their mission is about teaching kids good money habits. And interestingly, so their main mission and their model is about raising the level of financial literacy and starting very early on. What we find interesting in this example in our portfolio is that they have, and we invested in them because they had a very important education mission already embedded in the core products. But they didn't have yet the more holistic sustainability strategy. So based on the work that we did together as part of our portfolio support, we realized that because they have a great mission, they naturally attract people and employees that do have a view on what they should do outside of their educational mission. And that made the ESG roadmap design a company-wide exercise where everyone contributed. So everyone got involved. And we decided that coming from a very positive business model, we could go even further on the business practices, hence building a very coherent company, both in terms of business model, business practices, and we've put in place a number of objectives around improving that all the time. And interestingly, as they built this roadmap on sustainability, they also managed to tie what they do to the concerns of the teens and kids that they have as clients. So typically on the waste reduction around the cards, they used to be plastic. Now they're going to turn 100% of their pool of cards into biodegradable material, and that's very much in line with what their clients and what the kids expect. So, you know, as a wrap up, we strongly believe at Revaia that it's in everyone's interest, and it's part of everyone's mission to take significant changes on how we work, how we consume, how we invest. And this is why our purpose at Revaia is to support innovation that directly and indirectly creates positive externalities and already embeds the societal and environmental changes that we go through. And we believe that to do that, it's a very holistic process, and it comes with a number of tools, a number of methodologies that we're happy to share with our portfolio, and that I hope you're gonna maybe get inspiration from today. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was on the right timing. Thanks so much.